So
Good morning. Good morning, RE/MAX CRS agents, the best of the best from east to west. I made a rhyme. Did you like it?
Oh, you did.
We're going to have a good casual time this morning. We may have others join us. I wanted to mention to you, I'm really proud of the CRS RE/MAX page. We have 563 members. And it's a great place to look for referrals. If you have not added your own information to the map, go back to the Facebook page, look for the post that Nicole Service did. You can add yourself to the CRS map, and it's a beautiful map. It's got all the little balloons everywhere. It's just so wonderful. So that little piece of business I wanted to say. And then the other thing is, unless you have are a presenter today, if you could mute, that would be fantastic. So let's get this going, and we're gonna have Trisha in Phoenix kind of give us the lay of the land.
Okay, good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to be here with you this morning. So a question I am going to be asking all of our presenters today. Beth Ann, tell me about you. How long have you been in real estate, and where are you located?
I am located in Spokane, Washington, Beth Ann in Spokane, and been selling real estate now 20 years. Just celebrated 10 years with RE/MAX.
Excellent. So congratulations. Beth Ann has had her CRS for 10 years, and something that I think all of you would find interesting. She has 5 kids, 2 sets of twins, and 2 grandchildren. So anyway, now I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to introduce Judy Trimble. Oh, maybe before I introduce Judy, I'll share a little bit about me. I live in the Phoenix, Scottsdale, Arizona area. I moved here from British Columbia, Canada. As a matter of fact, I'll be there by this weekend for a good friend's wedding. And so I became a full-time realtor 18 and a half years ago, and I've been with RE/MAX 8.5 years and just received my home thing. So anyway, and I've had my CRS since the same as Beth Ann since 2014. So now I have the opportunity to introduce Judy Trimble. Judy, I will highlight you and have you on the screen. And could you tell us how long you've been in real estate?
I've been in real estate for 20 years, and I'm in the Boise, Idaho area, which incorporates a lot of small towns around it. So if you have any questions about Idaho, let me know. And if I can't help, I can direct you to someone that could.
Excellent. And Judy's had her CRS since 2010. And something I thought was amazing, Judy actually biked before a long time ago, she said. We're not going to ask what year, from Idaho to San Francisco. Are you still an active biker?
Wow.
I mountain bike a little bit, but no, I do not road bike. It's a little crazy road biking anymore.
It is. It is. Okay, Judy. So if everybody would mute themselves, we would appreciate it. And Judy, you have the mic.
Were you going to introduce Judy?
No, I'm going to. You
go
ahead.
Go.
I'll introduce.
Okay. Okay, well, we called this Calm in the Chaos, obviously, because there's so much negativity around the real estate market and realtors painting a negative picture of us. And I thought, it's been really interesting to me because my referral network, my sphere has really struggled to understand what is going on. So something I've been doing is reaching out to my sphere, reaching out to my business referral network, and asking them if they have any questions, describing what's really going on, reassuring them that things aren't totally crazy. I mean, real estate always changes. So we're we're just going through a little change, and we're going to continue to evolve and change. And as the best realtors out there with our CRS and RE/MAX, we're just going to educate our clients and make sure that we serve them so that they understand what's going on. So for me, the biggest thing I've been doing with my buyers and sellers, and because ever since this was announced, they have been nervous about things and asking me a lot of questions. And when you are able to actually tell them your value and speak to that, it's crystal clear that if they're one of the average people that sell real estate in their lifetime only purchase 3 homes in their whole entire lifetime. So how navigating that on their own and not with a professional is really daunting. And so when I've been going over that, all of my sellers see the benefit of carrying on business as usual, even after that August 17th date. They see the value of getting the most buyers, because buyers have a choice on if they're going to go into a home, by offering, broker buyer compensation. So it's been really enlightening. My people are not nervous about it at all. They just need their questions answered. So I think that that's our biggest responsibility as professionals, is to answer all those questions, all those hard questions, and be able to. A couple of resources that might be useful is the NAR has the 179 ways realtors are worth every penny of their compensation, and 105 more ways. So it talks about everything you do. And I've been incorporating those into my presentations along with my unique selling proposition and how I bring them value. And they have no question. They sign everything before we even go look at a house, or if I'm listing right there at their kitchen table. So.
So Judy, thank you for that. So
Yeah.
are you an individual realtor or are you on a team?
Yeah, great question. I work with my husband, and we have an assistant as well. And so my husband does a lot of behind the scenes. We're a team. He's a licensed real estate agent. He does a lot of behind the scenes, helps me out a lot with the buyers. We kind of tag team on that. So that's how we operate.
Awesome.
Excellent. Was there anything else you wanted to share? Or if anybody has any questions, please do put it in the chat and we can discuss any questions you might have after all of our presenters have had the opportunity to speak. Okay, thank you so much, Judy. You're very appreciated. Now we are going to be asking Brian Tessier, Brian sells Pittsburgh, to share his conversation with us.
So my name is Brian Tessier. I'm a licensed agent since 2006. I've actually been a CRS longer than I've been with RE/MAX. My mentor, when I first got my license in 2006, was a CRS, and he encouraged me to go to all the classes. This is before the internet was a big thing, right? So I would make a little bit of money, drive all the way over the Philadelphia, other side of the state, go to a class, come back, make some more money. So I would go forth, and I was just scraping by to get my CRS. And I'll tell you, the stuff I learned, like the teachers, behind the scenes stuff, I still use today. And some of the younger agents are like, "Where'd you ever learn that?" I'm like, "You guys, if you're taking stuff online, you're missing out." Like conversations during break, lunch, we get together for dinners, it was epic. So I just wanted to say the value of the CRS is just, I mean, it has formed my business to where I am today.
And Brian, something you mentioned before everybody started joining us, that you actually had the opportunity to be an instructor at Celebration.
Yeah, it was fascinating. I built my business on Zillow reviews, right? And the word Zillow was taboo for so long that I really took off with Zillow reviews. I created methods on how to get Zillow reviews. So CRS organization thought that was valuable. So pre-COVID, probably a year or two pre-COVID. They asked me to speak. I think we're in Dallas, so I presented. I would probably like to do it again because I think that's a big deal with Zillow reviews and Google reviews, but I don't want to digress. So yes, I did.
So go ahead and continue sharing.
So I'm an individual. I've always been an individual. Primary business is in Pittsburgh. I'm one of the top agents in Pittsburgh, one of the top RE/MAX agents in Pittsburgh, but I'm also in Miami as well. So my business is just me only, no assistant. I have a virtual assistant that does the Canva stuff, but she doesn't get involved in phone calls or anything like that. My bread and butter is going to be listings. I've been coached by Tom Ferry for years, not Tom Ferry Organization for years. R4 a ton, so I hear Buffini, and my office here in RE/MAX has Jared James a lot. So I listen to what they're saying, and we have been trained to get away from buyers and move to listings. So over the years, on flippers, developers, and that sort of people. What I'm seeing in Pittsburgh is kind of the opposite, maybe of what Judy's seeing. Nobody asked me about what's going on at all. I'm going to pause because that's a little unbelievable. But nobody asked me. It's as if it's not happening. It's as if it's not coming here in Pittsburgh, which is crazy. But we have had extensive conversations because I have the best broker in Pittsburgh when it comes to RE/MAX, and we've had multiple classes and talked about it. So the way I'm going to address it, listing agent, is I think it's all about setting expectations, right? I don't like to go into them where the minds are. I like to understand how to diffuse the minds before I get there. So I'm going to preface all my listings and tell my sellers that we should keep things status quo. That's what I believe. I believe you should keep the commission status quo. It's always been negotiable. I don't know where this whole thing is coming from. I've been negotiating my commissions my whole career. I mean, I just went on a for sale by owner appointment yesterday. He'd only pay me 1.5%. By law, it's negotiable. So I'm going to tell all my sellers, let's keep it status quo, either 7%, 6%, 5%, whatever the price range is, whatever they want to pay. And you're going to get a better quality buyer, a better transaction, etc. If it gets to the point where a buyer doesn't want to, a seller doesn't pay commission, some of my buyers are actually, I've become quite close with them. So a lot of them are my friends, they're referrals from past business. I honestly don't know how I feel about it. I don't know if I could ask them to pay my commission. Pay the broker's commission.
Brian, would everybody please mute yourselves? We have somebody with a dog in the background. So please check and mute yourself. I tried to scroll through and couldn't figure it out. So anyway, continue.
Click on participants and you'll be able to see on the right side that you're able to mute those people.
Yes.
See ya. All right, cool. So I'm not sure when it comes to the, asking for the commission, if I could, I don't know how everybody else feels, and I guess that's why we're on this call today. How does everybody else feel about asking personal friends, repeat clients to pay the commission? What do you think, Tricia?
Well, in Arizona, we have not had the buyer broker agreement that the buyer agrees to pay the commission. So I'm diligently working on, I just took my ABR not very long ago in person. And as you talked about, it's, I think the more educated we can be, the better we're going to be. And my statement is RE/MAX and CRS, we are going to separate them in from the boys.
Yeah,
So
we do have a buyer rep agreement and always have, and seller rep agreement, and the only difference is people didn't always get that signed prior to showing homes, but we've always had to explain that if the seller doesn't compensate the buyer, then it's the buyer's responsibility. So that is going to be a conversation we're having, and I'm having with buyers already. We have a plethora of inexperienced agents that have never explained that and say they work for nothing because the, seller pays things. But if you're really going by the letter of the law and the form, you're going to have to explain that. And most of my buyers are they understand that, but they also, just like a property for sale by owner, they would choose to go look at all the other properties first before that property, their choice, even though we can still say we can negotiate that or try to negotiate that. That's our job as an agent, but they know that if we cannot get that negotiated, they have to pay that commission.
Very interesting. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, Lisa, I've used a buyer broker rep agreement since the 90s, and the buyer has always agreed to pay, with the under contract stating that anything collected from the seller is credited with that obligation. And yes, so please, Lisa, if you would share that with me, I'll put it with our post from this recording. That would be excellent. So, okay. Brian, anything else you would like to add?
No, I think that's it. I mean, I think we should have another follow-up call maybe after all this takes place and kind of see how things change and how we're adapting. And like it's the calm before the chaos. So we really don't know how it's going to go, but I would love to have another one of these calls where we do know how it's going to go.
Okay, thank you very much, Brian. Something else about Brian, he is an avid runner, and I think it's amazing that you presented at Celebration. The matter of fact, I'm not sure, but they should be opening up for RRC for Celebration, people that would like to present. So thank you, Brian. Okay, so now I have the opportunity to introduce Judy Chin. Judy is from the New Jersey area, and something fun about Judy is she just loves life. She loves food. She loves traveling and the outdoors. So Judy Chin, welcome.
Hey everyone, it's good to see a lot of familiar faces. So I got the assignment to chat with you all today, and then also I can't wait to hear what everyone else is doing too. I'm going to just share with you a little bit on what I've been doing all along. So as crazy as it sounds, in the very beginning, we all clicked the media bait, right? And I will admit I was also a little frazzled. But then I also realized what happened, which is it was media bait. And then when you step back, you're listening to a lot of calls, you're talking to other brokerages and broker owners and colleagues like us. And then I realized, what, nothing really changed in what you're already doing. And I think where Remaxes, where CRS is, what we already know about ourselves, that we're professionals. So I think first we have to now realize that mindset that we are professionals. And then so I said, wait a minute, this is like the best opportunity now, because we always joke that we don't know why we have to call the client. What are we going to call them about? Well, now we have an excuse. So if it's someone that's coming through your open house, you follow up and say, you know what, I'm not sure if you know about this, but this is what's happening. Or what do you know about what's happening? Because some of them do. They're reading the Times, they're reading the Journal. Some of them are executive managers and they're on it. So I always start with, well, what do you understand about it? And then we sort of break it down if it's a buyer, and the same thing as a seller. And then honestly, I feel like we have all the tools. So we've been doing buyer agency agreement for a good number of years. I also enjoyed using it. And here's why, because even if you have a connection or referral from whatever, a realtor or a past client or sphere or friend, I don't know about you, Gol, but I take a lot of pride in representing them in whichever way, buyer, seller, landlord, tenant, right? So if you have a lot of pride in that, I'm not even joking, guys. I will set up a call. It's a couple of phases and I meet them how they are. So I either will do a call. If they want to do Zoom, we could do a Zoom. If we want to meet in person, we can. And I geek out. I will print out. So I'll show you here. So we went from a 1 or 2 page buyer agency agreement form to now it's a 5-page. I have that already. I go through the purchase contract, what that would look like. I go through their financial portion. I geek out, guys. I found, I'll drop the link, a Consumer Finance Protection Bureau. All go on it. It's free. So I create this. I'm sorry if you guys can't see it. It's a binder, and I'll create the link. It's a financial empowerment toolkit, all free. Go on the link, get the PDF brochures. It goes through mortgages, it goes through title, it goes through everything. So it's this whole packet that, again, you can create yourself. Remax marketing tools, under the marketing section, there's a home buyer guide and a home seller guide, I believe. And you can
Yes.
customize that, right? So use that. You could put your own information in there. And then we have fun with it. I make them feel like this is going to be fun, but it's also really serious. I'll go through what compensation means. I'll go through, again, their financials, their offer guidance. If they're a first-time home buyer, I will already have ready every other grant known to mankind if they're qualified. And then I might bring the lender on. So I just want them to feel really comfortable with the process, and that they're so ready by the time they're done with 1, 2, 3 calls, they're really ready to sign. Then I also explain my value. Like, for example, if you have folks that say, well, I could just go, direct or whatever, that's like the big thing, right? And I share a story. I'm like, do you really want that to happen? Because I had a client that, they saw a fix and flip home, no shade on that. But a lot of times the investor that buys the home, they throw up sheetrock and there is no seller disclosure, which, by the way, is also going to be mandatory in New Jersey. And the reality is, this is where we come in as a good, strong buyer agent. I was able to say, look, I went back into the MLS, and just so you know, a couple of years ago, repeatedly, the photos in the basement was full of mold, Right. So again, you have to show example of, like, okay, I'm going to be able to do that for you. And that material defect portion, that's what that means. Instead of just saying it, share a story. And then I will actually say, do you think if you talk to the seller agent, are they going to share that? They're probably not going to share. They should, but they're probably not going to. Then I do a dry run of all those forms, the lead disclosure, the seller disclosures, like if I'm working with a buyer, what the comparables would look like, go over strategy. I know it seems like there was never a strategy in this type of market, but I actually think it's coming back. I think it's always been here. What OPA requests are, right? So like permits, go through all that. So go through every single thing as a professional would do. And then, believe it or not, guys, I would go through a dry run of the purchase contract, because how many of you come open house within Monday or Tuesday, highest and best? Well, if you just started with a new buyer, they're so frazzled. They're looking at forms, like almost 80 pages of forms for the first time. So this sort of softens the blow, and then now they feel comfortable with you, whether it's a warm referral or some random person that found you. But now you have this whole packet that was already available, that you can, share it with your clients, again, either in person, Zoom, or a phone call. I mean, that's what I've got. So I think either side, for a buyer perspective, I would do the same for the sellers, and just explain. I print out every single, honestly, document that they'll ever will need. I don't actually leave that with them, but I go through that with them briefly on its top level. And then I have everything done on e-sign. So again, they really feel like, oh my God, this realtor is going to go to bat. They're total professionals. And that's really our job, to show that. So I think demonstrating that is going to make them feel like we are worth every penny. Because you have to feel that. I feel I'm worth every penny. So I think that's my biggest takeaway to share with you all.
Outstanding, Judy. Thank you. And I did want to mention that Judy has had her CRS since 2019. So congratulations. Okay, now I'm going to turn it back to Beth Ann, and you can share what you'd like to share, and then we'll be opening it up to questions and introductions. So please, Beth Ann.
Thanks, everybody. One of the things that stood out to me that Judy and Judy both Judy said, is talk to your people about this. Get it, be proactive about that. Get this out in the open. I do not know. I'm from Spokane. I've lived here my whole life, and I'm just going to put it out there right now. People here are very cheap. Okay. I'm telling you, it's just a thing. So we have a lot of sellers asking about, well, we don't have to pay a buyer's agency commission. We have a lot of sellers asking that. We also have an inordinate number of unrepresented buyers that just really think they're cool. And goes something like this. Hi, are you the listing agent in 123 Smith Street? And I'm like, yes, I am. And they say, well, we'd like you to open the door for us and, kind of just, take a back seat because realtors don't do anything else. And yeah, so I have almost hung up on a couple, but I didn't. And so, but the truth is, it gave me an opportunity to say, if you want to be unrepresented, that's your choice. I do highly recommend that you either hire a realtor, consider letting me help you, or get an attorney. And we have to put that in writing. We are required to say that in Washington State, and we're required to email that to these unrepresented buyers. And our attorney here, Annie Fitzsimmons, of Washington Association, she's amazing. She was the first, our state was the first to come out with a new buyer's rep on January 1st. And honestly, I kind of used them before, but mostly not. Now we are required to. And then the other part of that is the people that you actually want to work with. So this is where your personal boundaries and your professional boundaries come in. Just don't say yes to everybody. That's my biggest piece of advice. So the people that you want to work with, they tend to trust you. And all of my sellers have said, well, of course we want to compensate the buyer's agent. Of course we do. And so I haven't really had any problems with that. But there's a lot of, crazy information out there. And I think this is a time for us to really up our process. Judy Chin was really talking about her buyer process and all those forms and everything. That's her process. And just to know what that is. I wanted to kind of go not off topic, but when I was thinking about calm and the chaos, for some of us, there isn't a lot of chaos, but I think for the public, there is. So what we're looking at is we're looking at changes here. And there's 4 kinds of change. Incremental change, which is like, if you want to lose a half a pound a week, you stop, eating cupcakes. Rapid change, which that's like the pandemic. It's like a crisis change. Cyclical change, which is seasons. And this is one that we're dealing with, structural change. Structural change is when the rules change. And we have to ask ourselves, who are the players in this game? We're like the coaches and our clients are like the team. We have to give them, they have to know what the rules are. And we have to be confident and calm when we're explaining them. And they have changed and they are changing. I wanted to share a quote with you guys because I really feel that even though right now it's summer, it's almost July, in the market, it's winter. We're experiencing a kind of a winter time, most of the realtors I'm talking about. So Thomas Paine in December of 1776 said, These are the times that try men's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will, in this crisis, shrink from the service of their country. So I like to say that CRS agents were the winter soldiers. We're not summer patriots that are, we're there for these tough changes. We're there when the market changes. Tricia said it in a different way. This separates the boys from the men. And those of us who are here for the right reasons, we're here to service our clients and to help them make these major changes in their lives. We're not looking for easy. We're looking just to whatever knowledge we need to get, let's get it. And let's do the hard work. And so anyway, that's what I have to say.
Outstanding. Thank you so much, Beth Ann. Now, I would love for any of you that would like to ask a question to any of the panelists. Please type it in the chat or raise your hand, and I will, and you can ask the question or put it in the chat. Is there anything that anybody has questions of? So Beth Ann, I think you are a team as well, correct?
Well, not exactly. I'm a solo agent, and my husband was licensed a couple years ago to assist me. And we're actually considering putting that on ice,
Okay.
just because it's kind of expensive. So I do have a transaction coordinator, and my son is licensed, but he does kind of his own thing.
Okay, thank you. And Judy Chin, are you an individual or are you a team?
Sorry about that. I'm a solo realtor.
Okay, as
Yeah.
am I. But I do have people help me as a transaction coordinator when needed, as well as social media. So anyway, please, Judy Trimble, any buyer will have to have an agency agreement, even if you agree to the open house for no money. It
Mhm.
will have to state that. It's a conversation we have with the buyer. And Mike,
Mhm.
why don't you unmute yourself and ask the question that you had put in the chat? Mike Merrick?
Hello. Hey, nice to meet everyone. Good to see those I know. Interesting question to ask a seller if they're not willing to pay a buyer's brokerage commission. Ask them if they're willing to lower their price accordingly. You'll get an interesting answer.
Mhm.
Very
Yes.
interesting.
Mike, let me add to that. That's an excellent question to ask them, because I think it really makes them think, and I think questions are critical in times like this. I had, our form says on a listing agreement, the commission will be X. And if the buyer is unrepresented, the commission will be X. And I'm keeping that the same. And I'm telling my sellers, if we have an unrepresented buyer that doesn't have a realtor, I'm still going to charge you this. And so it decentivizes people from trying to do it by themselves.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Your broker's taking on that legal liability. I mean, a lot of you are your own brokers, but you are, the legal liability lies with you anyway if you're writing up something with an unrepresented buyer. So
Mhm.
Well, with unrepresented buyers, I always put a stipulation in that says all parties acknowledge and accept the fact that I'm representing the seller and merely providing ministerial acts for the buyer. End of story.
Right. Mhm.
Mm-hmm. I think we are going to see
Question,
a
Mike.
lot of liability questions. And that's what I'm telling my sellers is, when we take this listing, if somebody says they don't have a realtor,
Yep.
that might put the seller at greater risk.
Mhm.
I agree with that. I think that if we start to get more unrepresented buyers, we still have to have, like, if we're performing minstrel acts, we still have to have that we're representing them as a non-agent, and, you know, because we're doing that paperwork. But it is opening, I feel like it is opening the seller up to more liability about disclosures and different things like that, that they're not knowingly not disclosing, but if something comes up down the road, I think it could potentially be a can of worms. So I'm discouraging. I tell them we like the buyer's agents because they are looking for a win for their buyer. So they're going to offer a good, strong offer to get the buyer the home.
Can I jump in a second?
Yes, please.
Hi, Mark Abear in South Jersey. Hello, everyone.
Hey, Mark.
With regards to what Beth Ann said, and of course the scenario was a little bit tongue in cheek, but it's reality. My initial approach will be, until it sorts itself out, when you have the option of what the buyer can do who just wants to get in there and push it out of the way. My answer will not involve me representing them. I will 100% will give them the real deal. You have two options. You can get your own realtor. I'm sorry, you have three options. You can get your own realtor, you can get an attorney, or you can get lost. It's not going to be you can work with me, because I think in Beth Ann's scenario they're already difficult. And that's not someone that we would want to have hire us in any other type of market. And I think do yourself the favor and really see if you think that person is trying to be that way. If they're not an integrity person, they don't deserve an integrity realtor, broker, CRS, Remax agent. I'm being serious, even though I'm trying to be a little bit funny too. But it will be that you just want me to let you in. I'm not available. You're not going to be able to get it.
Yeah.
I'm busy working with people that sign these agreements, that work within the system. The tail does not wag the dog. Tail wagging the dog does not lead to success.
Here's the challenge with that is our attorney in Washington is saying, if I get that phone call, I have to consider that showing the house, even to an unrepresented buyer, is possibly best for the seller because maybe they want to buy it. And they're actually telling us in Washington, and I'm hoping this changes, that yes, if they want to buy it, we are required to write the forms, but we can't prompt them at all. We can't say, would you like an inspection? Do you have a financing contingency? It's just honestly messy that way, because I feel like I completely agree with what you said, Mark. I would much rather tell them, I'm sorry, you know, I'm not available or whatever, but our attorney is saying, well, you work for the seller and this could be the seller's buyer. So, I mean, it begs the question. So anyway, so I called my seller. I'm going to keep this brief if I can, but I called the seller and I told him the whole story. And this seller said, you call them back and tell them to pound sand. He said, I hired a realtor because I want a realtor and I want them to have a realtor. And that was from the seller. So, but for me, I can't tell him that, but from the seller, I can.
Right.
Well, everything you're saying, it sounds valid in that scenario. The attorney cannot force your availability. Sure, I'm available 6 weeks from now. Check your schedule and let me know what day of the week works for you. Then that's when I'm available for you. And yeah, that's also tongue in cheek. But the reality is these things, I'm pretty confident will get sorted out in some way. Not being naive at all, this is certainly challenging. However, as Judy Trimble was saying earlier, those of us on this call will stand tall when this is all washed out. And some other newer agents will buy into becoming an experienced agent. And then there's others that will do something else.
We'll leave the industry, which they should. So, Lisa Larkin, did you want to unmute yourself and ask your question that you put in the chat? something we do have to remember, Judy mentioned it earlier, is potentially people might buy 3 houses in their lifetime. So I think we
Mhm.
have to really realize that it's potentially been a very long time since they sold or purchased, and we need to walk through every step of it with them. Lisa, did you want to unmute or?
Oh, it looks like she wants us to read it.
Okay.
Um,
How would any of you address the seller who is expecting you to attract a buyer, hiring you to sell the home? Of course, we do lots of co-ops in Arizona, and dual agency still is, we can still do it. So, anybody want to chime in on that?
I think the answer to that is in your listing appointment.
mhm.
That's why you agree to X. And if you agree to X, instead of trying to get me to Y, then I'll be able to attract someone. I can attract someone at Y.
Mhm.
Yeah, we have an agency disclosure brochure as well for the state of Idaho that is required at first meeting, whether they decide to have you open any doors or not. And it clearly defines what dual agency is. And so they just have to sign that they received that. But Mark, you're right. Then when you go on to the different buyer rep agreement or seller rep agreement, they have to decide if they're okay with that and what that means, and if I'm representing a seller that my buyer now that I've worked with for months wants to go see that property, then we just talk through how we do that, but it's complicated.
Excellent, very interesting. So we are so lucky here in the United States to be able to get the CRS designation and have the opportunity for education that we do. So, I mean, something I'd like to share, I lived and worked in Canada for 30 years, and it depends on the province, but they go to school a minimum of 6 months and invest a minimum of $10,000. Some provinces, it's $30,000. And then they have to be mentored for 6 months. I mean, so I think having all of us on this call and the members of our RE/MAX CRS page, we work and we are the best of the best and have the training to support that. So, okay. Anybody else have any questions, comments?
I do have a question. This is Monica Anderson, CRS from Colorado, Winter Park, Colorado, RE/MAX Peak to Peak. I would put my video on, but I just got out of a workout and I'm embarrassed to show you what my hair looks like right now. So
Applaud you for workout.
I apologize, and I apologize for showing up late. But so my question is, when we do get those callers, like Judy, or I'm sorry, Beth Ann was talking about that, I want you to open the door and only do that, because you're worthless. And because I know we will all get those people, of course. And like I apologize, I'm forgetting what the gentleman's name was that just spoke, but said to tell him to go pound sand as an option. Where does that leave us with our fiduciary duty to attract buyers and sell the home for our seller? It makes me personally feel uncomfortable taking that particular hard line stance. Is there a better dialogue that we may be able to use as an option, or basically just refer them to a buyer's agent or an attorney?
Sure, there's a better dialogue than what I put out there, but all the same is that's my business personality.
Right.
That depending on how things go, if it's troubling times, I'm certainly going to have to get with the times. I'm not inflexible, but the reality is if things continue to go well as they have for the past few years, 22 years, as many of you, even more than that, then they're going to get the business about the business. This is the way that it works. And I've had to have those tough conversations. And sometimes each and every one of us have had to cut loose of someone because they won't work within your way, and you're all successful. And so am I. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
So maybe push them a little bit more and try to push the pre-approval process.
Yep.
If if someone's trying to give you the business, I need to see your pre-approval before we can even come close to making. They send your free qualification, you push back. It's not what we need. We need approval.
Great
letter. So
advice.
along with what Mark's saying is you kind of drag them out a little bit and
Right.
you know, get a realtor, a buyer's realtor that brings in a better offer or an offer period.
Right. No, I like that advice with that type of conversation. So thank you.
Yeah,
Deb
I
Ullman,
think it's a time
like-
for us to
go ahead.
revisit our boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
So Deb Ullman put in the chat, has anyone talked to their lender about their thoughts or advice to add the price to cover buyer fees? Any conversations with appraisers? Anybody want to jump in on that?
Not yet.
Not yet. Not so much appraisers, but more, if they want to negotiate it so it's built in, the price for the concession, then you just want to explain it to the buyer. And then also, as a buyer agent, you also want to explain that, articulate that to the seller agent as well. You do want it to appraise. And then when you're talking to the seller on the listing appointment, I think their big goal is the final net numbers. And again, you're positioning yourself as a professional. So you're going to show them, this is how you're going to do it. This is the geek out spreadsheet, that you put together. So like you're fine line iteming all the things and how you're going to get to that number. In the event that it doesn't appraise. And we still have it happening here in North Jersey where people are doing the gaps, the really large gaps. But I don't know if that's going to stay forever, right? And so I think we have to say that to our sellers. Don't get too comfortable with that. Just be prepared for all of it. So no, I haven't had that conversation with appraisers, but just, yes, that it might not appraise.
I've had a conversation with a couple of appraisers because they often call about houses that have already closed and ask questions. And so I just have been picking their brain too. And they're like, the house appraises at the value it should appraise at. So you have to educate your seller to price their property properly. And so then the conversation is if your buyer is adding to the price to be able to get the concession to be able to pay all the fees, then it doesn't appraise, then the seller's not going to want to pay, those fees. So it's definitely a seller. It's another conversation to have with both buyers and sellers, but really your sellers on pricing properly to know that because they're not offering that, they may run into this situation.
Very
And how are we going to handle that? Let's prepare to handle that if necessary.
So I would like to invite everybody to put your name and where you're from and how many years you've had your CRS in the chat, and I will download that and upload it again when I upload the recording. So if you'd like to do that, it would be great. As well, Beth Ann, did you want to address the map again? Just so everybody,
Yes.
because we had a few people come on late.
Yes. So on the CRS page on Facebook, we have about 560 members, which is amazing. Everybody's welcome to go to the post that actually a gal named Nicole Service did, and she has a map of the the whole world really. And you have to add your own information to that, and then you will show up on that map, a referral map. It takes a couple days for it to update, but some people are asking me, am I on the map? And my answer is, did you put yourself on the map? You got to put yourself on the map. And so, but I thought that was a beautiful visual to see all of us CRS. Tricia, if you wouldn't mind just taking a minute and let us know about Global.
Oh, sure.
We're going to go a few more minutes here on this Zoom, and Tricia hosts an amazing group of global agents. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I am a co-founder of Global Remax Agents. I think quite a few of you might have already joined it. It's all uppercase global, uppercase Remax with the slash agents. And we have every other month a presenter on your area. And we've had people from Italy. I would love for you to join it and consider presenting on our page. Last month, because a lot of us did go to luxury, we did have Amber Bonacero on talking about the opportunities of luxury, in addition to what opportunities are there for us as well. She spoke about what you would see at luxury as well. In October is Remax International Week, so we will have Shauna Gilbert from headquarters along with her assistant Nicole. But please ask to join Global Remax Agents. We would love to have you be part of that group.
Mhm. I also want to mention, when we hit on this topic of calm in the chaos, I don't know, it sounds like it was different around the United States, but honestly here it really was chaotic. All the local news stations were picking up on it, and there was just all kinds of hubbub about it, and oh, realtors are all going to get less commission, no more 6% commission, blah blah blah. And it was pretty loud. And one of the things I want to encourage each one of these people here, you've got 25 agents on the Zoom, is revisit your self-care routine, whatever that is, because the more centered we are, the better we're taking care of ourselves, the way we're prioritizing things that help us to have that inner confidence and calm. For me, it's having time every evening to just have time to myself. It's a reading in the morning. It's walking, and it's getting a massage twice a month. So what is it for you? Are you taking care of yourself?
Excellent. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions, comments? I would love for you to jump in and say, what would you like to see next month and 2 months? Your input is very important to us. And thank you, Judy, Brian, for being on with us today.
Mhm.
Do any of you have anything you'd like to throw out there that you would like to have a topic discussed?
Off topic, I think everybody should acknowledge the presence of a famous celebrity, 30 under 30 realtor.
Thank you, Mike. I meant to do that. Jorge is the only Remax agent in the United States that was 30 under 30. So a giant congratulations to you.
Oh yeah, so awesome.
And we appreciated you kicking in for cocktails last week, but we missed seeing you. Does anybody want to shout anything out about luxury that was there last week?
I'm not bashful. It was
I
an
know.
excellent conference. Topics were great. Panels were awesome. Location was spectacular. Hard to get to, but once you were
Yes.
there, simply beautiful. And you know, that the presenters were fabulous. Joe Fitzpatrick, I think his name. Then Amy popped in for a
Yes.
little bit, and the extracurricular activities were fun as well. And it was great to see those who were there. And the rest of you, we missed you.
Mhm.
Excellent. Anybody else? Jill Vadika. Jill, do you want to jump in and talk about it?
It was great. I always just love the networking with people and meeting people, and it's nice that it's a smaller environment than R4, a little bit less overwhelming than R4, but also great content. One of my favorite things, kind of takeaway, and I've noticed people start doing it, but is to take other people's listings in other people's areas and post them on or share them on your social media in order to kind of show yourself as a resource to your sellers as well as to other people in your network that you know agents everywhere and can help them everywhere.
I love that. Okay, we have time for one more person to speak, or if you would like to unmute yourself, please do. Well, that was easy. Okay, in consideration of time, I want to thank Beth Ann for starting this group. What was that, 5 years ago? We actually were in Vegas and you had a gathering for CRS and then having the Facebook page. So if you guys know of anybody that's a CRS designee, please make sure you tell them about it and to please join the group. And any ideas that you would like to, I did see somebody had talked about
I think
that they
Deb,
would like to have the MLS discussion.
Deb, did you have a question? You wanted to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to ask what everybody, their current markets, are you seeing the prices softening at this point across the board, things slowing down? Yes and no, a little mixture of that. Okay. Yeah, we had a pretty big, jump in the last 2 years, being probably one of the lower price points in the state. But it just like we caught up with Kansas City and St. Louis pretty rapidly. But where it's a cooling off right now, and it poses a problem with this whole conversation of fees with sellers who are already overpricing. And so that's where I just was curious if anybody had any experience around that.
Overpriced.
We are, go ahead. Somebody else was talking at the same time.
Deb, in Southern California, the people are still overpricing. So it looks like they're dropping, but they're just overpriced.
Right.
People don't realize that we've kind of hit a plateau. So if you're priced competitively and aggressively, you're still going to get multiple offers. But the people that are still thinking, I'm going up 20%, they're sitting on the market, and then they have to drop to sell. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, the prices are dropping. But it's really the overinflated sellers that are creating that vision, but it's not.
That's kind of where we are too. So
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Mike,
To that point, when what I've used in listing presentations when a seller wants to overprice, I'm an old corporate guy. I analyze data, sales and marketing. So I put charts together and I showed them what their home value was 5 years ago and the successive years of appreciation, so that you make them feel good about waiting till now to sell because their price points are greater than they were 6 months ago, a year ago, and prices are up 50% from 5 years ago. And that helped me get one house priced properly last month. And we're still in a situation where I live in Metro Atlanta called Marietta East Cobb, the best public school district for relo people to move to. The top 3 schools, one of them has less than a month's supply, one of them has 1 month's supply, and the other has 2 months supply. So we're still bombarded with, multiple offers. Supply is limited, demand outstrips it. So it was interesting at luxury hearing people in different markets talk about their inventory position and the activity. Now, the downside for us is all that sounds great, but we have no first-time home buyer market because prices are so insane.
right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
thank you everybody for being here, and any suggestions you have, please do reach out to us, to Beth Ann or I, and we will definitely get that on the radar. So have a great day, everybody. Thank you for being here. And thank you to our guest.
Thank you.